At the age of 24, to get sentenced to 7.5 to 25 years, it pretty much seems like a life sentence.
Welcome to Client Stories. Oftentimes, our clients' stories are just as interesting as the tattoo artists. This is an interview with a convicted felon turned CEO.
My name's Pat Carr. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a business owner. What do? I train salespeople on how to help homeowners put solar on their home, and I work out like it's my job.
So Pat, you did some time in prison. What led to that?
Oldest story in the books, drugs. I got really bad with drugs at a really young age, and whether or not you subscribe to the disease concept, I myself do. I have this thing inside of me where even before I put drugs in my body, if you told me to go right, I just wanted to go left. So that was a part of my life at the age of 5. By the time I was 18 and just pumping my body full of drugs, I was willing to do anything to get more. That was my sole focus in life. And long story short, I committed 5 really serious robberies in order to get money for drugs and got sentenced to 7.5 to 25 years. I did the same things in there that I did out here. I used drugs, I got in trouble, I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement, I got involved with bad people. At the age of 24, to get sentenced to 7.5 to 25 years, it pretty much seems like a life sentence. So I didn't go in there thinking I was going to be reborn and change my life. I pretty much thought my life was over. First 4 years, I'm involved with people in gangs, I'm using drugs, I'm drinking, I'm getting in trouble, and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. My entire life is consumed by chaos. I spend time in solitary confinement on and off, and I'm a troublemaker in there just like I am out here. Before going to prison, I had been to rehab multiple times, right? My parents told me I was a drug addict. My girlfriends told me I had a drinking problem. I'd go to rehabs, and I was never willing to do anything about it because I was doing it for someone else. So while I was in there, I met this guy, and this guy's name was and I hit it off. I listened to kind of a weird type of music, and not many people in there listen to that type of music, and he did too. So we became friends pretty quickly. So immediately hanging out with I realized he had something different that I didn't have, right? Like he had some sort of peace in his life that I didn't possess. In prison, you go to yard. And in prison, you work out all the time because you have lots of free time. So I remember it was a Tuesday night, and I asked him, I said, hey, what are we doing at yard tonight? Are we doing back or are we doing chest? And he said, I have a pass. And in there, you have to get passes for things. You need a pass to go to the gym, a pass to go to the school, things like that. And I remember thinking, it's Tuesday night, gym was last night, church is on Thursdays and you don't go to church anyway, so what's on Tuesdays? And he says, oh, I go to NA. And that was it. It kind of ruminated in my brain for a couple of weeks, and I just kept watching how he moved, right? Like my life was consumed with fear. Like, what was I gonna get in trouble for today? How was I gonna pay for these drugs that I was trying to buy? And he didn't live like that. So I remember going to him and being like, hey man, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try going to a meeting. And again, going back to people telling me what I need, is he totally blew me off. And he said, cool, if you wanna go, go. If not, whatever. And that just made me wanna try it more, because again, my whole life, everybody's told me I needed this. And there's a saying in groups like that, it's about attraction, not promotion. Like, don't promote to people what they need to do. Just live a good life, and maybe they'll see it and they wanna do it. And that's what that was, right? So September 26, 2010, I got my last package. I used it. I got totally out of my mind. September 27th, 2010, I went to my first meeting, and I've been clean and sober ever since. A lot of people who don't know would assume it's easier to get clean and sober out in the free world, where I would argue it's the total opposite of that. So I wouldn't say it's easy, because you have to know the right people and you have to have money to do it. And I'm really social. It's what I do in life, right? And the best way to describe prison is, prison's like high school, right? There's cliques, there's the cool kids, the not cool kids. It's like high school with knives. I've always been really good with people, right? I've been in sales my whole life. I can talk to anybody. And I was able to get in with the wrong people, but the right people if you wanted that stuff. But the problem is, I've been out 9 years now. I haven't struggled with this because I don't see drugs, because I don't go around them. I see drinking from time to time because it's a social thing, but like I just don't put myself in those situations. In there, when I got clean, I still had to go to the same yard. I still had to walk by the same groups that I saw every day for the last 5 years that I bought and used drugs with. So if anything, I would say it was a lot harder to get clean and sober in prison than it is out here, because I can avoid the people, places, and things out here.
So you're very open about your past. I feel like a lot of business professionals would try to kind of close that part of their life off and not be so open to talking about it. Why are you so open about it?
I actually haven't always been able to be open about it. In my career since coming home, I've always worked for other people. And I've always been transparent about my past when I work for other people. Like when I go for an interview, within the first 5 minutes, it's, I'm a convicted felon. Is that a problem? Because if it is, I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste mine. And everybody's usually very open-minded to my story. And I've been on 5 job interviews and I've gotten 4 of them. So it's gone really well. But the problem is I moved further up in leadership in companies where the owners of those companies, they have limiting beliefs. At least I think they do. And they would ask me to keep that stuff to myself because they didn't want anybody to use it. They would say they didn't want anybody to use it against me, but that's their shit, not my shit. They didn't want anybody to use my stuff against them, right? So the first thing that I did when I started my own company was I'm wide open, right? I sat my entire team down. I told them my life story. This is who I am. This is where I've been. This is what I've done. Take it or leave it. And the reason I'm so open is I haven't found anybody who hasn't wanted to work with me as a result of my past. Most people, not that they respect what I did because what I did was awful, but they respect the changes that I've made. And everybody in their life has been affected by someone with drugs and alcohol, right? So people like to be a part of a success story. And kind of my why is like, listen, there's somebody out there that's not going to the next level because they're afraid to talk about their past. Or they think that that's not a possibility because they have a record. And that's right? Like, you can do whatever you want. You know, that's your own limiting belief that you're putting in place yourself.
For a successful business person and CEO, you have some pretty serious tattoos, especially the one on your ribs. What is the story behind your tattoos?
So I've always been into tattoos, but I also know the profession I'm in, which has always been sales. So even though I do have some pretty big dramatic tattoos, I've always placed them somewhere where I can put a t-shirt on and cover it up. Now, I'm a CEO today, right? And I plan on now passing that barrier, and that's my form of burning the boats, right? I'll never work for anybody ever again, I don't care. But that being said, I like what I like, but I don't want it to affect, haven't wanted it to affect what I do for a living. So story behind that tattoo, at least that one. So I had a friend named, we were in prison together, just a really good dude, which sounds whatever to someone, you know, people who haven't been in prison, but he was a really good human being, super caring, super funny, and an absolutely amazing artist. And he had a very progressive, trippy style of drawing, and that's what he would do in there constantly. I remember asking him, like, listen, I want you to make something for me. And he's like, what do you want me to make? And I said, listen, I want you to take your style, which is dripping faces and, you know, teeth and just craziness, and use a Spartan helmet and do it your way. And he made me a drawing, which was one of the coolest drawings I've ever seen in my entire life. And he made this drawing for me, and I had no intention of it being a tattoo. I saved it, I brought it home with me, I had it hanging up. And, you know, eventually he died in a tragic car accident, also related to drugs. And I immediately decided I wanted to get that tattooed on me. So then I circled back with a friend of mine who I was in there with as well, who had gotten out and does tattoos. So he's from 6 hours away from here, but when he was here for a convention, I had him do the tattoo on my ribs. And oddly enough, he's either dead or in prison, I'm actually not sure, which really tells the story that the rate of recidivism, 85% of guys go back within the first year or die. Like, that's the world we live in, right? And like, my whole story, my whole why is redemption. Like, you don't have to do that, right? Like, you don't have to be a number. It's not super hard, right? I'm not super special. I'm definitely not super smart. I just don't mess around, right? Like, I'm totally removed from that life 100%.